The movie starts in Australia, where a professor is invited to give a speech. He begins with a light-hearted joke but quickly shifts to a shocking, offensive one, leaving the audience in disbelief. A committee member tries to intervene, but the professor, instead of stopping, cuts off one of her fingers. Chaos ensues as the crowd flees, while the professor calmly picks up the severed finger with a napkin. The police soon arrive, and when the professor refuses to cooperate, they shoot him. In his final moments, he reaches for his ringing phone but dies before answering it. Meanwhile, in Louisiana, Elliot bids farewell to his pregnant girlfriend Shelby, whom he's set to marry in a few days. His day takes a turn for the worse when he arrives at work only to be fired for being too lenient with clients. This is devastating news, not only because of the upcoming wedding and baby, but also because Elliot relies on his job's insurance to care for his mentally challenged brother, Michael. When Elliot breaks the news to Michael, his brother is distraught, fearing he'll be sent back to a mental institution where he was previously mistreated. Desperate for help, Elliot visits his abusive father, Samson, but discovers that his father has lost all his retirement savings and will need to move in with him. That night, Michael asks Elliot to take him to the store to pick up his medicine. During the ride, Michael remarks on how their father only became abusive after he mysteriously started making more money. After dropping off Michael, Elliot waits at a red light, swatting at a fly buzzing around his face. The light doesn't change, and suddenly, Elliot receives a call from an unknown number with a ringtone he didn't choose. A strange voice on the other end addresses Elliot by his full name, telling him he's been chosen to participate in a unique game show where he could win a lot of money. When Elliot tries to decline, the voice reveals intimate details about his life: his mother's death in a car accident when he was 9, his student loans, credit card debt, and even his trouble sleeping. The voice also knows there's a fly in the car and offers to pay Elliot $1,000 if he kills it. Frustrated, Elliot swats and kills the fly. Moments later, a message confirms the money has been deposited into his account. Uneasy, Elliot steps out of the car to see if someone is watching him, but finds no one. The voice calls again, this time offering him $3,622, the exact amount of Shelby's credit card debt, if he swallows the fly. After the voice ends the call, the traffic light finally changes to green. Minutes later, Elliot arrives home and checks his bank account online, confirming the money was deposited. Then Elliot takes out the fly and eats it, which causes the next prize money to instantly appear in his account. The voice calls again, saying that in just 36 hours Elliot can be very rich. He only has to complete 11 more challenges that will increase in value as he advances in the game. If he makes it to the end, he'll get $6 million. If he fails any of the challenges, the game ends and Elliot loses all the money he made up to that point. There are rules to follow, and the voice tells Elliot to be alone to hear them. So when Elliot sees Shelby leave her room, he starts moving around the house to avoid her, eventually hiding in the bathroom. Telling anyone about the game, attempting to contact the organizers, or interfering with the game will also count as losing. Elliot presses 1 to accept the deal, and the voice makes him sing, "I will dance with the golden toad," to finish the registration. Then the voice says the next challenge will come tomorrow, and hangs up. Elliot goes back to Shelby and tells her he's been organizing a surprise to get her off his back. The next day, Elliot goes to the park with Shelby and her parents, but he can't stop thinking about the call. As soon as his phone rings, he leaves the group and here's the next challenge. He must make a child cry in 5 minutes for $5,000. Elliot looks around the park and sees a little girl running, so he blocks her way and tells her that her parents are going to leave her in an orphanage. When she doesn't believe him, he just points at the couple and says that's why they're talking about right now. The girl finally gets upset and cries as she runs back to the family, and Elliot gets a message confirming the money. Afterward, he hurries to help his group pick up their things and gets in the car with Shelby, driving away as the girl's parents run after him to throw a trash can at his car. Minutes later, the couple makes it to church to pick up Samson. While Shelby is stuck helping him get back on his wheelchair, Elliot gets a call with a new challenge. He must burn a nativity scene handcrafted by blind kids. Shelby takes Samson to the bathroom and has to deal with all his complaints about the baby and their marriage, revealing he's quite racist. That doesn't stop him from asking her to help him with his zipper. Meanwhile, Elliot uses this opening to steal the nativity scene and takes it to the backyard, where he lights it on fire and instantly receives the money. However, he fails to control the flames, which soon spread to the actual church. Elliot tries to put the fire out with the extinguisher, but it isn't enough. Panicking, he runs to activate the alarm. Then he finds Shelby and Samson to leave quickly. Outside, he receives another call telling him that once he's ready, he must follow the homeless person across the street. Elliot immediately leaves Shelby behind with his father, ignoring her protests regarding his weird behavior. At the police station, the little girl's parents are reporting the incident at the same time that the homeless person reports that a guy offered him an ostrich plus $1,000 for his clothes and shopping cart. However, he took the things and ran. The description both victims give match, and Detective Chilcote becomes interested in the case, especially when a new report comes in saying the same guy started a fire at church. As Chilcote announces he'll go himself, an officer comes in with the infamous ostrich. Meanwhile, Elliot has put on the homeless man's clothes and is doing the 6th challenge, which takes him to a very old house. For $50,000, he must take the guy from 6B out for a cup of coffee before 4 p.m. Elliot thinks this is very easy, but when he enters the apartment, he's disturbed to find the guy dead in the tub. The voice explains the man self-deleted, but this shouldn't stop Elliot. Determined to win the game, Elliot sprays freshener all over the body to cover up the rotting smell and drags him out of the apartment in the homeless guy's shopping cart, making sure to put him in a position that makes him look alive. At the diner, he covers the body's face with a hat and is rude to the waitress because she's taking too long to take his order. With only 1 minute left on the clock, a group of police officers enters the diner and sits right behind Elliot, making him nervous. The waiter serves them coffee first, leaving Elliot with no choice but to steal a cup from them and put it on his table just in time. A message to his phone confirms he got the money, but now the officers are angry. Elliot apologizes and drops a bunch of money on the table while calling out the cops because they were putting alcohol in their coffees. This makes them back away, and Elliot gets to escape. Then he gets a call from the voice, who is so impressed by the police trick that he counts it as the 7th challenge. However, the voice also says that Michael's file is already being marked for review because the insurance company has dropped their support. Michael comes out in a quiet street and finds a bus being driven by a silent person with a mask, so he gets in. Meanwhile, at the diner, the police are getting the body, and Chilcote finds a card that fell from Lot's wallet when he paid. He sees a strange man called Vogler talking to the waitress, but he's gone before he can interrogate him. The waitress tells Chilcote that Vogler claimed to be a reporter and left him a paper with his contact information, which Chilcote takes for himself. Moments later, Chilcote visits Vogler at his trailer, but Vogler immediately runs away and gets behind a gate, which he locks up to stop Chilcote from following him. He claims that the cops are working for them and tells Chilcote to kill Elliot, then he leaves. Chilcote decides to search the trailer and finds lots of information about the game happening all over the country, and even a symbol that appears to be the organization logo. Back to Elliot, he's still on the bus when he gets the next call. The voice tells him to take out his library card, but Elliot doesn't find it in the wallet. This means the police knows his identity now, and he may be facing 10 years in prison. However, the voice points out that if he finishes the game, he'll make all the charges go away. Late at night, the bus drops Elliot at a motel, and he goes to room 8, where he finds the organization logo on the keychain. Inside the room, there's a nurse and a guy called John who recognizes him. It turns out they went to school together, and John used to harass Elliot all the time. As the nurse takes out a saw, Elliot gets a call telling him to cut John's arm off. Elliot refuses to do it, but when he asks John, the guy agrees to do it. This means he's getting paid for this. Elliot gets ready to do it, but the nurse only gives John a local anesthetic, so Elliot gets afraid of doing this with John awake. Desperate to win, John starts insulting Elliot and reminding him of all the things he did to him and his brother in school, including pissing on Michael's face. Eventually, Elliot snaps and cuts the arm off in just one move, while John yells in pain and blood is splattered everywhere. Afterward, Elliot puts John in his car and takes him to the hospital, giving the arm in a bag to a nurse before leaving. On his way out, he sees John's brother and remembers he used to harass him too, so he grabs a chair and hits him with it twice until it breaks. Then he gets a message confirming that last act as Challenge 9. In the meantime, the police are searching Elliot's home to get a clue about his next destination. A few hours later, Elliot makes it to the practice dinner for his wedding. He says hello to everyone but quickly moves to a corner, anxiously waiting for the next call. The voice finally comes in and says Challenge 10 will be for $500,000. When it's Elliot's turn to give a toast, he must destroy the room while singing the International Communist Anthem. Everything breakable must be broken and flowers must be urinated on. Also, the song lyrics are in his jacket pocket. When the time comes for the speech, the police arrive looking for Michael, accusing him of public nudity. Shelby's mother makes all the guests leave to another room while Elliot worries over his brother, knowing this incident will send him to an awful institution. To distract the cops, Elliot decides to proceed with the challenge, and he starts breaking glasses while singing the song. Michael uses the chance to run away, and Elliot grabs a microphone stand to start destroying everything in the room, also throwing cupcakes at the cops. When the officers try to stop him, Elliot threatens to self-delete to keep them at bay and proceeds to pee on the flowers. Then Elliot runs out of the building, putting up a chair to block the door. However, the next call tells him that his 11th challenge is to get arrested, so he has no choice but to move the chair and let the cops tackle him. Later at the station, he's interrogated for hours and a cop makes a list of all his crimes. Elliot sees things he didn't do, making realize someone else is playing the game too. In the main office, Chilcote learns on the news that Vogler's RV was set on fire. Chilcote wants some time with Elliot, but his superior denies it. When Elliot is finally left alone, he breaks the bottom of the chair and waits for a cop to come in, using the chair piece to threaten him into giving him a gun. Then he uses the cop as a shield and demands to get his phone back. The cops are already making a plan, so Elliot gets into another room and locks the door while he gets the next call. The voice confirms there's another player, and if that guy finishes the 13 challenges first, he gets the prize while Elliot gets jail. The cop uses the distraction to try to get his gun back, but Elliot accidentally fires it, and the officer gets shot in the foot. The other cops are about to bring the door down, so Elliot grabs a chair and jumps through the window, landing on a dumpster. His phone falls, and he thinks of getting it back, but Chilcote is aiming his gun at him from the window, and there are more cops coming, so he has no choice but to run away. Minutes later, Elliot steals a phone from a random guy on the street and holds him up, yelling that he knows he's being watched and that they can call him to this new phone, but nothing happens. At that moment, a woman passes by, and Elliot starts harassing her, thinking she's part of the game too, and following her to her home. After a few hours, Elliot finally accepts that the woman is just an innocent bystander and apologizes, but she suddenly changes her sorry face and gets serious. She goes outside and asks Elliot to fix the rope of her clothes hanger, so it's up again. When he does he receives a text saying he finished challenge 12 and he was paid $1 million. At that moment, a bunch of bikers are approaching the area, and when Elliot takes a closer look, he realizes that the clothes hanger goes across the street and will decapitate the bikers. He immediately puts it down, and the drivers cross safely, stopping nearby to confirm on the phone that they passed their challenge. However, the second player appears in the distance and puts up a second string, which sends Elliot running to warn the youngsters. He isn't heard, and when the bikers drive back for their next challenge, they fall for the trap, and all of them get killed. Seeing the massacre, Elliot starts crying as he picks the ringing phone from a dead guy's bag. The voice congratulates him on his $1 million and starts reading questions from the audience, but Elliot throws the phone away and announces he doesn't want to play anymore. Meanwhile, Chilcote finally finds Vogler at a bar and threatens him to share what he knows if he doesn't want to be arrested. Vogler proceeds to show off all his research, explaining the rules of the game and revealing his wife played it some years ago, but she died during it after eating her dog. Since then, Vogler has been trying to find the organizers to no avail. Lots of famous incidents have been part of this game that started decades ago, including Kennedy's assassination. Vogler explains the 13th challenge is always the same. The player must kill a member of their family. Back to Elliot. He's walking down the road when he suddenly hears a phone ringing with the voice's ringtone. He starts searching for it among a crowd and notices a person running away, so he follows them into an amusement park. Suddenly, the other player starts an ice cream truck and tries killing him, but Elliot dodges just in time. The truck goes away, and Elliot jumps on a random car to continue following them, finding another phone already waiting for him in the glove compartment. The voice reminds him that interfering with another player's progress is against the rules and tries to tell him about the final challenge, but Elliot throws the phone out of the window. Eventually, the truck stops, and Elliot is shocked to find it at his father's old house. He rushes inside and finds Samson calmly having dinner. The toilet noise says someone else is in the bathroom, but it turns out to be Michael. Elliot is devastated to realize Michael has been the other player all along, and he knows the final challenge: to kill a family member. He has a weapon hiding in his bag ready to kill Samson as revenge for hitting them as kids. Elliot tries to calm him down and an argument ensues, only for Samson to interrupt them with a big reveal. He played the game back in the day and killed his wife to win it. He's been living with the weight of his crime since then, and that's why he's become such a miserable man. Furious, Elliot takes out the cop gun and tells Michael to wait in the other room. When he gets ready to shoot, Samson tells him he doesn't want his son to fall for the game like he did and suddenly uses a knife to self-delete, keeping Elliot from winning. Now Michael is scared because he thinks Elliot will kill him instead, so he reaches for his bag, claiming he only wants his medicine. Assuming the worst, Elliot panics and shoots Michael first, immediately regretting it. Elliot rushes to his brother's side as Michael, desperate for a victory, admits he just wants to win at something for once. Suddenly, Michael stabs Elliot, who recoils in shock. Despite his wound, Michael reaches out to stab him again, repeatedly. Blood pours from Elliot's earlier bullet wound until he collapses, dying. As Elliot's phone plays a jingle, it coldly announces that he's lost all the money he made, declaring Michael the winner. Meanwhile, Chilcote unlocks his truck using a keychain bearing the game's logo, revealing that he works for them. After killing Vogler for knowing too much, Chilcote begins burning Vogler's research. He then heads to Samson's room, intending to burn the bodies there as well, but runs into Elliot. Chilcote assures him there's no need for concern, explaining his job is to cover up the crimes and destroy the evidence. But Elliot, consumed by vengeance, shoots Chilcote on the spot. This rash act disqualifies Elliot, costing him the $6 million instantly. Afterward, Elliot calls Shelby to check on her. She tells him someone called, asking her to eat a fly, but she refused. Relieved, Elliot sighs. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.